We are going to start in another moment or two lying on the back. So I just want to make sure that you have available to you some blankets. I have bath towel, beach towel, and you might not have all these things, but you want to have maybe one that's more on the thin side and one that's more on the thick side. Feel free to drag in some pillows. Those would be mostly for your head. They're usually a little too squishy for some of the supported things we're going to do, but they're nice for comfort. Let's see, water is good. Mat, great. Cat, also great. Dog, also great. And that's it for now. So before you come to lying down, I'd like you to take a fairly thin blanket. I'm using a very old beach towel. So an old beach towel is not really very thick. And place it on your mat in such a way so that when you're lying down, your upper back has just a little bitty layer of softness in between you and the mat. Not that a mat isn't soft, but depending on how old your mat is, how thick or thin it is, and depending if your mat is on a wood floor or whatever, we're going to do some movements early on where it might be just a little better to have a little softness under your back. And you want to make sure, like just for example, this is probably what I would use. You want to make sure when you're lying down in this that it's not so thick that it makes you in any way uncomfortable. So I'll just give you a visual in a moment. You just want from the tops of your shoulders down and include your hips, because otherwise the end of the blanket will probably dig into your back in some annoying way. This is not all you need. You might want some more padding under your head. So that's a different piece of padding. That could be a pillow, it could be a fold up blanket or towel. I'll just use this for myself. And that's really all you need right now. That's really all you need. And I'm just going to move some of my various blankets. Depending on where I move them, sometimes Albus does commandeer them. So I have to be a little careful. Otherwise, I have to like take him off the blanket, right? And you don't really like that so much. So we'll see how that goes. So I'll come to lying down with you, although some of the things, just to make sure you can see it, I may pop up every now and then to show you. So come to lying on your mat with this little extra cushioning underneath your torso and your hips. The most important reason we need this is I want to make sure you're not digging your shoulder blades into the floor or anything hard with some of the movements we're going to do. So get that set up. Take a moment to make sure that's comfortable. And then you can lay with your legs straight, your both legs bent. If you have a bolster or a big cushion, you can loop your legs over a bolster. Only add support under your head if you need it. A lot of folks automatically, automatically stuff a lot of pillows under their head, but we're not going to sleep. So you don't need anything under your head unless, like me, you want to project your voice. And if I'm lying too low or if my ear hits the floor or this padding, my microphone will go out. So you can have your head right on the back of, right on your mat or right on the supports you have underneath you. And then just let your body be comfortable. Good, just to make sure my earpiece doesn't fall out. I'm going to sit up for a moment, but get yourself comfortable with soft padding underneath your upper back and whatever additional padding you may need under your head. Legs straight or bent, and take a few moments just to be present with yourself. So notice how you feel, but don't spend too much time thinking about that. At end of a long day, very hot day, at least here in New York and actually really everywhere. So make sure you're nice and cool. You may want to start your practice here in addition to lying down with a cleansing breath that's in through the nose and out through the mouth. And you don't have to make a dramatic sigh like I just did. You could just let the breath out, but do a few cleansing breaths, nice and easy. And you might notice as you take those exhales that something might let go somewhere. See if you can maybe soften your upper back down into your mat, the back of your head into the mat or into a pillow, and get yourself as soft as cozy as the cat. You probably can't see right now, but you might see him. You know how cats just let everything go and they're a big old pile of mush. And when you become that big old pile of mush, take time to notice that if anything jumps out at you, any ache or pain or any issue that you might have going on, just notice it to the extent that as you go through your practice, even though the movements are going to be really simple and you're going to be really extra slow tonight, just make sure even simple, slow, gentle movements can irritate an injury if it's bad enough. So just be mindful of that. Notice if there's any area you need to be a little more careful of. Notice also if there are areas that feel really good. You know, wow, I just feel so good just now here lying on my mat here. Notice that. And then close your eyes if you haven't already done so, and bring your awareness fully and completely to your breath. And if your breath was just like a wave and you're watching that wave just rolling in and rolling out, a nice, gentle, steady, slow wave, follow your breath with that same level of attentiveness. Notice as it rolls in and notice as it rolls out. Without judgment, notice if your breath is smooth and steady, like some water and waves, or if it's a little choppy. Notice that. Notice the difference between the wave coming in and the wave coming out. When you draw your breath in, do you feel a lot of spaciousness? Can you feel a lot of breath come in, or does it feel a little blocked? When the breath rolls out, how does that feel? And just notice any blockages or any sensations that you notice. And then take one more moment of quiet, just you and your best friend, your breath, right now. Easy inhale, smooth exhale, eyes closed, body soft. Excellent. So listen carefully. Where again, sometimes the simpler the movements, I don't think any of you guys do that, but some students in my classes, the simpler the movement, the more they do it, thinking it has to be intense to work. So with your legs bent or straight, and with maybe a little extra layer, as you can see, for those of you who just came in, I have a very thin old beach blanket on my mat, so that when I lie on my mat, my upper back and the backs of my shoulders are fully down, and there's a little extra cushioning there. So now from here, pick up your right arm, crisscross it over to the opposite side. So your right arm is going to reach left, don't strain, and let your arm rest on you. Okay, you can even take your other arm on top of it to hold it down. So when we lift our right arm and reach it over, the shoulder blade, you can even feel that this shoulder blade, especially the outer shoulder blade, and maybe even the inner shoulder blade, has lifted off the mat. So just notice that, make sure you're not straining. And then slowly turn your head to look toward the left side. And you can either turn it by rolling it, or you could pick up your head a fraction and roll it. And that may have shifted something in your right shoulder blade as well. You could stay right here, or if you like, you could lift the right arm up and without force, stretch it across the body. Make sure you're not feeling anything uncomfortable. And then you could also make some micro movements. So I have my right arm across the body, and now I'm taking it a fraction to the right by pulling my elbow and a fraction to the left. So what I'm feeling, and you might be feeling, is the shoulder blade gently kind of getting a little scrubbing, depending on the thickness of your blanket, or it's just kind of here on me, it's dropping into the soft blanket and moving away. So it's basically like a little massage in that area. Keep the movement subtle. We're not looking for a big sensation here or a big movement. And then rest the arm down, Bring the head back to center, either turning it to center or picking it up and just placing it back to center. Let your right arm come down. So just notice if you feel any different from the side that we just fussed around with a little bit and the side we didn't fuss with. And now we're gonna explore our left shoulder blade. So pick up the arm, reach it across the body, don't force the stretch, and then let it rest on the body. And just notice, so now your right shoulder blade, right, is gonna be somewhat down. You'll feel that against the blanket, but the left shoulder is gonna be up, okay? You can even weight it down with this arm so it doesn't slide off. So this is wrapping forward a little bit. The shoulder blade is moving away from the spine in this position. Now, if you like, pick the arm up, bring it a little bit more over, reach the left arm a little bit more over to the opposite direction or not, and then just bend the elbow a little bit back and forth. So you can't see that maybe from where I'm going. So I'm going like this. I'm going like this with my arm. I'm not bending it and straightening it. I'm just moving the arm in this way, and that's going to kind of brush the shoulder blade into the blanket and away. And if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Go really, really slow. I'm exaggerating the movement a little bit to make it more likely that you can see it. So just make sure you just feel a little movement, like the shoulder blade might lift a little bit off the towel and then come back. Good. And just do that 1 or 2 more times. And then release that. And if you turned your head, I don't know if I reminded you to do that, but if you turned your head to look toward the left, bring your head back to center. Turn your palms up and just relax your upper back into the blanket. And even if you're comfortable with your legs straight, bend them here. Just bend them here. Let the back of the pelvis sink down. Let the upper back be down. Maybe take the arms a little wider to get a little more commanding lift in your upper back. And take a few nice breaths here. On your next inhale, breathe. Focus your awareness of your breath into the front of your chest. Feeling a subtle or maybe not so subtle lift as you exhale and a little softening as you exhale. Now bring your awareness to the region of the back. We were making subtle movements with the upper back. So across the shoulder blades, that area of your back, and take a slightly longer breath there. And notice if you feel any change in the way your upper back meets the mat. You might not, but when we expand with our breath, our body expands from the inside to the out. So as you inhale, you might feel your back press a little bit into the soft prop underneath you. Another good reason why it's nice to do this with a soft prop underneath you. Good. And then from here, just very lazily reach your arms up. No strain, keep the elbow soft, circle the wrists around a little bit. I said in an email for some of you that some of you saw that we're going to do some things for our shoulders. So, but we don't always just want to work on the shoulders directly. We want to work with our arms and our wrists because it's all connected, right? So you can make some interpretive movements with your hands instead of circling them both the same way. I'm just kind of floating them out and in. You can do that. And then when you're ready, bring your arms back down to your side and ease over toward your side and pause there. Just pause. And then roll toward the side you turn to, get your top arm down and slowly come to lift up. And I just noticed that Albus, my cat assistant, has left the room. How rude of him. I hope he comes back. So we're going to do a little twist here. So you don't need to have a blanket here, but you may want to come up and sit on a blanket. So make sure you feel very cushiony underneath you. You don't have to sit cross-legged. I'm sitting cross-legged up, you can see, but you don't have to sit that way. Make sure you're sitting tall, that you're sitting in a way that you can support and lift your spine, and that you feel pretty even on your sitting bones. And then from there, take your arms out to the side, almost making like a capital A shape with the top of your head, the top of the A, and then your arms are the long sides of that capital letter A. And have your fingertips down and have your shoulders relaxed. So don't have your shoulders up. So walk your fingers away from your hips enough so that the shoulders can be nice and soft, the shoulder blades can be relaxed. We're going to twist to your right. So you may want to prepare first, as we often do, especially for people who are beginners. You might want to take your right arm behind you and take your left arm over to the right leg. Feel free to do that, especially if you're just starting. So get your arms in place. If you're a little more used to twisting, don't set up your arms just yet. Have your arms either forward, like you're holding a big beach ball. If it's comfortable, take your arms overhead, take them overhead. Inhale, lift and lengthen your rib cage away from your hips. And as you exhale, take a small twist of your collarbones and your shoulder girdle to your right. And then for those of you who didn't start with your arms down, now you place them down. Just let them come down to where they come naturally. You're twisting to the right, so make sure there's not more weight on your right pelvic half, on the sitting bone. Make sure your other side is relaxed, the side you're turning away from. Make sure that leg is relaxed. You can even give it a little tap down your left leg. And then just take a few breaths here. First breath, if it feels of interest to you, bring it to the front of your chest. And as you inhale, see if you can dial into that subtle but powerful sensation of the chest expanding from within to without. See if you can feel that little lift or expansion in the front of your chest. And don't worry if you can't feel it, because it happens if we can feel it or not. Then on your next breath, still twisted to the first side, your right side, bring your awareness to the upper back where we were playing around with our shoulder blades a little bit, right? And just take a breath and focus your awareness of that breath into your back lungs. And you might want to envision what you think your lungs look like. And as they expand, they're going to be like kind of pressing in toward the rib cage, in a sense, the back of the rib cage. And that rib cage is going to be kind of gently pressing outward toward the back of your skin. And then just take one more breath here in the twist. And when you're ready to release, either unwind your spine and take your arms with you, or take your arms up, unwind your spine, and bring your arms down. Now, no matter how you were sitting, just stretch your legs out a little bit, roll them out and roll them in. Make any subtle movement that you'd like to do after sitting still, and then come back to sitting. If your legs were crossed and you want to do that again, see if you can put the opposite leg in front. But you don't have to sit the same way you did on the second side of the twist as you did on the first. Find the A-frame of your arms, relax your shoulders down. You may want to take a cleansing breath in through the nose and out through the mouth to make sure you have as little tightness, or ideally no tightness, in your chest and back. I'm going to do 2 for myself right here, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Twisting toward your left now. You may want to set up the arms. You may want to take one arm behind you and the front arm in front of you. Or if you do more Lada yoga, you don't feel you have to get the arms set up and you have a strong core, sit with your arms lifted, and you'll feel your shoulder blades do come up a little bit when you lift. Inhale here, inhale into the length of your spine. And as you exhale, just that upper spine, twist that a little bit over. And then if your arms are up, do place them down. So if you're twisting to your left side, your left arm is going to be behind you, kind of supporting you back there. It's almost like another spine back there. And then your front arm, traditionally, it's on the opposite leg. Maybe it feels more comfortable, not quite so far over. Whatever feels more comfortable for you, make sure you're not straining. Make sure the leg you're turning away from, that leg is relaxed, because it can tighten up. And make sure your sitting bones are even. We'll take a few breaths here. Let's start this time, if you like, bring your awareness to the sides of your rib cage without changing your breath at all, just changing your awareness. Bring your awareness to the sides of your rib cage and see if you can get a sense of a subtle lateral expansion as you inhale. A widening of the rib cage, right to right and left to left. And after that breath is complete, bring your awareness to your upper back and just drop your awareness in your upper back. Breathe naturally. And notice if you feel any sense of movement or expansion in the upper back. Don't be concerned if you don't feel it, because it is happening. And then with your third breath, you may just want to breathe and not think about anything, or you may want to bring your awareness in the front of your chest. Know that if your arm is across the body, as it is traditionally in yoga, that can kind of make us feel a little more closed in the chest. So you might not feel the expansion in the front as much as you do in the back. Twists tend to open the back more than the front. That's just what they do. Take one more breath if you like. And then when you're ready, inhale, release the arms up, stretch them wide, roll your shoulders, but really itty bitty rolls, not the biggest rolls. And then again, take your arms out and paddle your legs around a little bit. Good. Now from here, let's come to an active bridge. So we're going to come back onto the mat. If you really liked having the soft blanket or towel under your back, feel free to put that back there under your back. And if you need support under your head, take support under your head. If you don't, that is great. If you need support and you're going to place a blanket under your head, also great. Take your feet comfortably wide as the outer edges of your mat. Bend your elbows into right angles and gently snuggle your upper arm bones down. Now, this is going to create a sense of connectedness with the upper back to your mat. And you might feel here, especially because of the movement that we've done already, that your upper back feels super broad and you don't really feel your shoulder blades digging into anything. So you may feel a little more cushion back there. And then when you're ready, press into your feet very lightly, both sides of the feet down, inner toes, outer toes. And as you inhale, just lift up a fraction. Just give a little tuck to your tail. Send your tailbone away and think of your pubic bone coming a little bit toward your tummy. And then slowly lower down. And then just relax. So don't try and hold that tuck. We just did that to maybe eke out a little more length in the spine. Now we're going to do a few more like that. Upper arms snuggling down, fingertips pointing to the sky, feet relaxed but hugging the mat. Inhale and lift into bridge. And exhale and lower down. Sync the movement with your breath. Pause if you want to pause, especially if you notice something interesting. The next time you lift up into bridge, if you want to stay here for a few breaths, please feel free to do that, or you can keep going in and out. Make sure your neck is comfortable. The center back of your skull is down. And even though, yes, when we lift up, this does put weight on the upper back, just make sure you don't feel like you're feeling a lot of weight of the body down on the upper back. We want to feel more of a sense of connection and broadness in the back than a weightiness. Make sure you're using the other parts of your body. Think about your knees moving away from your hips. So that's going to take more support into the legs. Knees away from the hips, backs of the thighs lifting up to the fronts of the thighs. Any irritation in your head, neck, or upper back, come right down. And then lower down, rest your arms by your side or on your tummy, and just let your knees knock inward. Rest here. Turn your head to either side. Doesn't matter which side you pick, just let that head roll over and just take a breath there. Actually, let's make it 2. And then bring your head back to center and either turn it to the other side or just barely lift the head a fraction and turn it toward the other side. Let your head be heavy and take 2 breaths here. Bring your head back to center. Let's do our second twist here. Take your knees comfortably wide, arms comfortable. First, start with some windshield wipers. Now, you may have seen enough of windshield wipers after that rain we had the other day. Wow, that was nuts, right? But we're going to just get a very tiny windshield wiper twisting action going. And this might be all you do. This might feel nice, very relaxing. If it feels okay, start taking your knees a little further over to the sides as you go. We're still not doing crazy windshield wipers. We're still on like the slow speed, right? Then the next time your knees come over to the right, Surrender the legs down. If you're getting cramps in the legs, come right out of it. Another option is if your leg feels a little crampy and cranky. So my right leg, that leg's the leg that's lower to the ground. You may want to take a blanket underneath the outside of that leg. Now the leg that's not closer to the ground, you could prop that leg as well, taking a blanket under the inner thigh of that leg, although that prop has to be higher up, just so you know, because the leg is higher up. So either prop one leg or both legs, turn your head slowly to the opposite side of your knees. So with your knees to the right, turn your head to the left, if that's comfortable. Relax your shoulder blades down and take a few breaths here in this twist. So this twist is more passive than the one we did a few minutes ago sitting up. This is also, again, really nice for the back. Relax your shoulders. I just noticed that my shoulders, possibly because I'm talking, and when I'm talking, you know, from Queens, so my arms want to move. My shoulders were jiggling around. So let your shoulders be weighty. Make sure your shoulders are weighty here. With your knees twisting to the right, you might notice that you might feel a little longer in the left side of your body than the right. So just notice that. And if you want to investigate that with your breath, drop your awareness into your left side and take a generous breath into your left side, the opposite side from your knees. Maybe you, oh my goodness, sorry, I jumped. A big cat face came into my face. Hello, Albus. Don't jump and just breathe here. And then when you're ready, slowly bring your head back to center, your knees back to center. Pause here. Bring your hips back to center too. And now we're going to come to the other side. So take your knees over to the left and feel free to take a propping under each thigh. I was going to show you the propping under the outer thigh here, but Albus might be blocking it. So I really have to make this much, much taller. I don't usually always use a prop here, but you really have to have it pretty high up to catch some of that flesh up there. There we go. So now you're twisting your legs over to the left. Make sure your arms are comfortable. Broaden your upper back. You can turn your head. Traditionally, we turn our head away from the twist to the opposite side, but you can keep it in center. I have a cat tail tickling my neck, which is nice. So now with the knees to the right, we're getting a little more spaciousness in the opposite side, in the left side. So if you wish, bring your awareness to your left side and just drop your awareness in there. And notice if you feel, as you inhale, the expansion of the left ribs. You may even feel like you're getting longer between the left hip and the left armpit. Notice whatever you notice. If your legs feel uncomfortable, don't drop them over so much or support them more. Take another breath or two here. If anyone knows how to relax, it's a cat. When you're ready, breathe your knees back to center, your nose back to center, bring your hips back to center. Take your feet wide and drop your knees together, making a triangle shape. So this is such a nice, relaxing pose. It's a variation of Shavasana. So if you're uncomfortable lying with your legs straight, when we get to Shavasana, this is a good alternate. There's a number of names for this pose. So I just say make a triangle out of your legs and just take a breath here and notice how your back meets the mat. And if you do tend to have tight shoulders at the end of the day, we haven't done a whole lot of movement, but just notice if any of the movement that we did and the cushioning of the upper back and the bridging, anything that we did is helping you feel to be very relaxed in your upper back. And hopefully maybe you're getting a little bit of that here. When you're ready, you're going to roll over to your side. So you might want to have your feet more parallel, shift your hips to one side, roll over to the other. And then before you come up fully, rest fully on that side. The side you're looking toward, put that palm down, press that palm down, initiate the lift with that arm, stretch the top leg, And then slowly come up to sitting. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. You got a pose you want to show us? Yeah, there's one. And just notice how you feel and take a breath here. So we're going to do another back bend. And this time we're going to add a prop in a different way. So you could use your beach towel. Here I like something a little thicker than a beach towel. So either a yoga blanket if you have one, or I don't know if you could really tell this, but I think you could probably see that this is a much thicker beach towel than this poor threadbare little guy here. So maybe you can't see that, but you're going to take just one, pick the one you think that is nice and thick, get the others out of the way. And then actually, excuse me while I make a change. That one, I happen to know I've washed it a lot and it shrunk. And the other day when I used it for this pose, I noticed how much it had shrunk. So whatever blanket you have, I need that, buddy. Take it roughly into a rectangle shape. So if you have a yoga blanket, you might be very familiar with this fold, but tend to take it into a rectangle. So you have two long sides and then fold it together, long side to long side. So you still have a rectangle, but it's quite narrow. You want it to be narrower than the width of your shoulders, and ideally narrower than the widest part of your back. And then you're going to place that down on your mat, like so. When we come to lying down in a minute, we're going to be sitting with our bottom on the mat, and the low back, the whole spine is going to be on here. If you're kind of on the short side, your head will be there too. But if you're not on the short side, take another blanket. So here my weirdly shrunk blanket works just well for this one, and take it at the top of the blanket. So if you're looking at it, it looks like a giant capital letter T. And then when you're ready, you can have a bolster at the other end of the mat if you have one to loop your legs over. I'm just going to have bent knees and be happy with that. So you're going to sit on your mat close to the blanket, and then you're going to ease yourself down. If you feel that the blanket bunches up, move your hips a little bit away from it, because we want to feel that our low back curve feels very natural. We're not trying to increase or decrease the low back curve. So again, if you have, I'm going to have an invisible bolster here. You could have your legs over the bolster, or you could have your feet wide. Oh, sorry, buddy. There's a cattail there, and your knees together. Now, the nice thing about this pose, if I forgot, make sure your head is comfortable. We get a free back bend here. So in bridge, we had to create the back bend, right? In the beginning of class, we had a little layer underneath our back, but that was really just for cushioning. But here, you'll notice the broadest part of your back and your shoulders kind of spill off the sides, which for the most part is very nice. I'll get to a caveat in a moment. So as you relax your arms down and surrender your shoulders, you're going to widen and expand in the front of your chest. This is really nice for the shoulder blades, the shoulder girdle, and the arms are going to rest by your side. Now, if for some reason you're in this pose and you're like, hey, this doesn't feel good, this is bothering my shoulders, the blanket underneath you might be a little too high for you. If you've had a shoulder injury, having the shoulders drop down like this might not be so comfortable. So in that case, you can come out of the pose altogether, or let's say one shoulder is bothering you. You can take a layer of fabric, it can be a blanket or an article of clothing, and just tuck it under. So you just have a little more support under the shoulder. If that arm is bothering you, it's not dropping down as much. So hopefully that helps. I know I give a lot of information, but I want you to be cozy. Take your arms comfortable, palms up, palms down. If you need more height under your head, get more height under your head. And notice how you feel here. You're probably familiar with the pose cobra, and what this restorative pose mimics, in a sense, is the effects we get when we do Bhujangasana, cobra pose, except that we're doing using our muscles, right? We're lifting up from the mat, we're curling our chest up from the floor. And what happens? We're getting a beautiful, subtle, but beautiful articulation in the upper chest where we need articulation. And the upper back is calm and broad, and the neck ideally should be calm. Of course, if we're doing cobra, some people fling their neck. There's no neck flinging here. We want to get a little more spaciousness in the chest, and by doing it with the supportive props, we can stay in it, not only without using muscular effort, but we can stay in it for a few minutes. So stay here as long as it is comfortable. I'm going to come to sit so I could, one, take a peek if any of you are here live. Just I don't think any of you have your cameras on. You stay put. I'm going to come to sitting. That will also help my voice project in a different way, so I don't have to keep talking to you from the side. So again, make sure you're comfortable and you're looking for a very subtle opening in the chest and a calm relaxation of the shoulder blades down, and your upper back should be broader than the props that you're on. Now you could just stay here and just be here and get the benefits of the pose without having to do anything else. You can also, if you wish, again, add a little breath work here. Not really work, but a little more breath awareness here if that is of interest to you. So I'll take you through that. And remember, while I'm taking you through this breath exploration, if you want to come out of the restorative back bend, the way you come out, I would show you, but now a cat's in the pose, but the way you would come out, not too complicated, bend your knees, feet to the mat, roll over to your side and rest on your side. You don't have the blanket digging into you when you're on your side. So now, assuming you're still lying here and you're enjoying the back bend a little bit, if you like, bring your awareness to the sides of your rib cage. We went there before in some other poses that we did without force. As you breathe, pay a little more attention to your inhale, make it a little longer, and notice if you feel that expansion in the width. And as you exhale, notice if you feel a condensing in the width of your torso. And then just take at least 2 breaths where you're not thinking about anything. Nice, easy, natural inhale and a nice, smooth exhale. Head heavy, feet relaxed, jaw soft. If you like, next bring your awareness to the front of you, not just the upper chest, but also your belly. And as you inhale, don't force your breath or exaggerate the breath. If anything, slow it down or just make it a little longer so you can be present in that breath a little more, and notice if you feel the front body kind of expanding upward toward the sky. And as you exhale, notice if it softens back to the midline. And then just take 2 natural breaths, noticing the movement in the front of your chest if you like, or just kind of using your breath to bathe you and comfort you. Let's take one more spot. Bring your awareness to the back of you, the upper back, even the mid back. Now, your back is heavy to the prop. Gravity is drawing you down, so you might feel really connected there. So you may not feel a lot of movement, but just as the chest, if we're lying on our back, when we breathe, the chest is going up to the ceiling, the back is expanding down to the earth. So just with your awareness underneath you in your back body, take a slightly longer inhale and just notice if you feel a sense of your back body expanding downward. As the breath, the inhale inflates you front, back, side, side from within. Notice if you feel that in the back right now. And then take another breath or 2 or 3 here where you're not thinking about anything, unless anything that I talked about, and I talk a lot. If anything was interesting, feel free to bring your awareness to a place that interested you. Take 2 more breaths here. If you'd like to do one more exploration, right? Bring your awareness into the front of you, the front body, the chest, and the belly, and into the back body. Don't force your breath or exaggerate anything, but notice as you breathe if you feel yourself expanding kind of up in front and down and back, like a ice cream sandwich, which would feel really good on a hot day. With the ice cream in the middle and the 2 cookie halves are breathing subtly away from you as you inhale and kind of getting closer to the ice cream as you exhale. Someone's meowing. It's like, I'd like some ice cream, even though I've never had ice cream. That sounds good. Take 1 or 2 more breaths here. Now, when you're ready to release, if you haven't rolled out of the pose yet, when you're ready to release, if your knees were looped over a bolster, just make sure your feet are down and your knees are up, right? And then you're going to ease over to either side. You can come off the blanket. I have a cat here, so I'm going to be on my blanket. So you're going to ease over to your side, bend your knees. And if you're not on your blanket, what you can do with it is you can take the blanket in between the lower leg and the top leg, cushioning the inner knees and the inner ankles, and that feels good. Take some blankets under your head and just rest on your side here and notice how you feel. Take a nice easy inhale and a nice smooth exhale. And then when you're ready, use your top arm and that arm strength to initiate the lift. Come up to sitting. Hopefully you feel good, and just come up to any comfortable seat for a few moments. I see I made a big mess here with my props. Notice how you feel. We are getting near Shavasana time, but I have maybe just 1 or 2 more things to do. So we've done back bending. We did back bending with props and without, and we've done some twisting. Forward bends are wonderful. They're very calming for the nervous system. But just remember, if you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, rounding in the upper back is not really good for the back. So we're going to do a forward bend, but I want to make sure, especially since we're on Zoom and I can't see you and give you advice, that you follow your instinct very carefully. Unless you have a bad instinct, in that case, just do what I tell you to do. So you may want to be sitting on some props. You may want to sit on a blanket to cushion your bottom. And then take your legs out at least as wide as your mat or wider, okay? And sit nice and tall, but not rigid. Place your hands somewhere on your legs where they drop down. My hands are right on my kneecaps. Good. Don't have your legs sort of active so they're not rolling outward, but they don't have to be super outward here. So we're going to move into a forward bend, which, as you'll see, or as you feel for yourself, may not take you that far forward, but will still be heading in that direction. So as you inhale, press your palms down, not into your knees. Your fingers could be on your knees. Press your palms down into the flesh of your upper legs and lift not the shoulders, but the chest up. So feel not exaggerated tall, but nice and tall. Good. Excellent. Inhale a breath again, and as you exhale, From your hip creases, lengthen your spine a fraction forward. So you're going to be leaning forward a little bit, not with your chin, but with your whole spine from the hips. And as you lean forward, wherever your hands were on your knees or on your thighs, you might find that as you lean forward, your arms are a little lower on your legs. If you like the way you feel, you can stay right here. This can be your forward bend right here. I'm laughing because my cat is doing, one of his legs is jerking. So this could be your forward bend here. You can just bow your head down. If it feels okay for you, your back isn't irritating you, and you're not collapsing in the upper back, press your hands into your legs. Inhale, even if you come out of the forward bend a little bit. And as you exhale, if you have any more flex ability to lean forward from your hips, not from your jaw, not from your heart, from your hips, if you can bow more forward here, bow more forward, your arms will come lower down your legs. Drop your chin down, pause here. Now, this might be where you stay. If you're very flexible, now we haven't really done any forward bending prepping, so even if you're very flexible, you might want to stay here. But if you're super flexible, you can repeat the process a few times. I'll repeat it with you, but you don't have to go any further, but I just want you to see. So let's say we're here in the forward bend. Bring your hands a little close. You inhale, kind of peek out of the forward bend a little bit. Make sure your spine is long. And as you exhale, without reaching with your chin or your head, fold your hip creases a little bit further forward. And if that doesn't feel good, come back to where you were. If it feels good, there you go. Once you come to a place where you feel good and you feel like your spine is lengthening and you're not over curving that back, there's where you stay. If we had done a very active yoga class with a lot of forward bending, some of you might be further down, but you can be right here. Soften your jaw. Sometimes what I do, I might take a blanket in front of me or a pillow, depending on how close you are to the floor. You could take your elbows there and make a little pillow for your head. And you can go as high as you need to with the props to make that work for you. Take a few breaths here. And remember, if folding forward is uncomfortable for you, if you're straining, your forward bend could be just sitting nice and tall like this. That still helps, in a sense, to give us a little extension in the back. Sorry, buddy. Take a few breaths here. Close your eyes. Bring your chin down, rest your head in your hands. If your hands aren't close enough, just bring your chin down. One more breath here. And then when you're ready, depending on how far down, it'll take you a little longer to get up. So take one breath or two or three. Each time you take a breath, come up a little bit taller, and notice how you feel. Good. Let's come to Shavasana. Before Shavasana, if you want to do any stretch or yawn or sigh, if you want to do a little subtle cat-cowing, just whatever you want to do, keep it subtle, and then prepare for the most delicious Shavasana you can set up. Now, my setup space is very limited now because there's a big, beautiful cat sitting here. So I'll just give you a few reminders. In the beginning of class, we were so luxurious that we padded our mat with a blanket. So if you want to have a thin layer, this isn't as thin as the one I used before, but if you want to have a thin layer of blanket between your back and your mat, you're not going to use a thick yoga blanket for that. You're going to use a thin beach towel, cheap beach towel. So you can have a blanket just to give you a little cushioning. So when you're lying down, there's a thin layer of fabric underneath your shoulder blades. Then you're going to take padding for your head. Most people in Shavasana like a little padding for the head, folded up blanket, towel, etc. While you're setting up, if you're still getting set up, you might want to take a nice little sip of water. And then that's really all you need. You also can take a blanket under your knees. You can have your knees bent and your feet on the floor. I'm just looking to see, yeah, no, it's not worth coming. I don't think I need to show you Shavasana. I'm going to make an executive decision. You know how to do that. You don't need to watch me lying in Shavasana. How boring is that? So just come to a comfortable position on your mat, support it as much as you can, and close your eyes like soft curtains. Surrender the weight of your skull and all the thoughts and all the responsibilities that live in that wonderful, brilliant brain of yours. Let that go. Let your head be heavy and surrender any burden of thought or worry. Without using any muscular activity. Imagine your right shoulder dripping like raindrops away from your right ear, softening down, drip, drip, drip into the floor. And then do the same for your left shoulder. Invite your left shoulder to release. Maybe it's released already, but it never hurts to check in. And you might find that, oh, that's where I hold my attention. I'm going to let that go. Invite your upper back to be nice and broad like the ocean. Shoulder blades not digging in, hopefully. Hopefully you feel nice and broad and easeful. Imagine your rib cage surrendering to gravity. Your pelvis, the pelvic bones surrendering to gravity. And the skin that wraps you surrendering down toward the bones. Invite your arms to rest. Let your hands be still. Hopefully you've done with working for the day. Hopefully you finished your driving and your sewing and your mending. You might still have some dishes to do or laundry, but hopefully your hands can be pretty relaxed for the rest of the evening. Invite your legs to let go. Now, we didn't really do much this evening really for our legs, but you may have walked around a lot and did a lot on your feet. So invite your toes to relax. Invite your heels to relax. And then imagine that the muscles and all the tissues in the lower legs are getting really soft because they're not moving your legs. So the muscles don't have to be taut. And then the two bones in each of your lower legs are resting in these really cushiony mush ball muscles. Imagine the muscles of your lower legs, and those calves can be tight. Imagine them as mushy as a soft kitty, a soft, relaxed kitty. Same thing for your upper legs. The bones in the upper thighs, longest bones in the body, they're very big bones in that sense. And we have tons of muscles, front of the thigh, back, big muscle groups. Imagine, invite those muscles to let go of the bone. So they're not hugging the bone, they're not moving the bone. Invite the muscles to be really soft and pillowy. And then allow your long thigh bones to just relax downward into a soft, pliable muscle blanket, as soft as, again, a soft kitty. Soft kitty muscles. Cats know how to jump around and leap, but when it's time to relax, they are really, really great teachers of relaxation. They are just so, so relaxed. See if you can instill a little bit of that in your Shavasana this evening. Soften your belly. Soften wherever you can and enjoy a few minutes of quiet and stillness. Sounds maybe arise. You're practicing on Zoom, you're at home, a kid might scream, your neighbor might yell. So there might be things, but just let those be in the background, like the soundtrack of life. It's there, and it's good that it's there, but use this time for yourself to be still. Let the sounds, let the people yell and the neighbors shout and the cars drive past your window on your street. And just surrender yourself for a good few minutes. You don't have to count them, I will. Give yourself a nice, easeful time in Shavasana right here. If you feel at any time that your mind kind of wakes up or your body starts to move, see if you could ask that busy mind and that eager body just to give yourself a few more minutes of stillness, because you totally deserved it. Let your breath be natural, easeful, and smooth. Savor the stillness for a few more breaths. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing to do but a few more minutes of stillness. When you're ready, start bringing yourself out of stillness in the slowest, most easeful way you can. Maybe just flutter a few fingers, wiggle a few toes, and then maybe start to stretch and yawn luxuriously. Or maybe you just want to be still for a few more minutes. Going at your own pace when you're ready. Bend your knees, place your feet on your mat. Take your time, ease over to your side, rest on your side, knees bent, head supported. And then only when you're ready, come up to sitting. If you'd like, sit against a wall or a piece of furniture so you can sit tall but have something to support you if you like. Join your hands together and draw your hands to your heart. Bow your head down. Offer this moment to gratitude, thanking your body for all it offers you, honoring your mind for its strength, its resilience, its patience, and most of all, honoring yourself for your unique spirit on this earth. Om Shanti, 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 and meow. Om peace, peace, peace. Thank you for joining me. I hope you had a nice little respite this evening. It's really important. Mini Shavasana. Anytime you're having a stressful day, just lie down 5 minutes, 4 minutes, just a minute if you have it, even like 2 minutes. 1 minute's not too great, but even 2 minutes of just being still can give you a little boost during a challenging day.